The House has passed the short-term funding bill to avoid a government shutdown just hours before the deadline. The continuing resolution passed in the Senate earlier with bipartisan support. It will fund federal agencies through December 3rd. The bill also includes money for Afghan refugee resettlement as well as disaster relief for states impacted by the recent hurricanes and wildfires. The bill now heads to President Biden's desk. To talk more about this, I'd like to bring in Joel Payne and Matt Gorman. Joel is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. Matt is a former campaign aide to Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush and a Republican strategist. Welcome to both of you. Joel, let me start with you. How were lawmakers able to come together on this bill to fund the government, at least temporarily? And what do you think is likely to happen in December?
Only so many crises are allowed at once, Tanya. We got to knock one of those crises out the way before we get to all the other business that Congress is focused on. I think that Republicans understood that, at least the 15 Republicans that joined the Democratic caucus here, that, folks at home are looking to make sure that you can actually make government work. I think these Republicans, along with their colleagues, have decided to make their stand on the debt limit, which is a manufactured crisis that we're going to see play out over the next couple of weeks. But I think that there was a feeling that, look, let's go ahead, let's punt this down the road 2 months. I'm not sure ultimately how this gets resolved. I imagine there is maybe a larger, more comprehensive funding solution that both sides are going to be looking at when that comes up. But as I said, one crisis out the way, other crises left to battle this week and beyond.
All right, so Matt, one thing this bill does not address, as Joel pointed out, is the debt ceiling. And of course, the U.S. is heading towards default, which would be catastrophic. This question is for lawmakers in general, but do Republicans and specifically have any plans to address this?
I think Democrats should be the ones who are in the driver's seat of this. They have complete control of government, presidency, House, and Senate. They have the votes, all the votes they need to get this passed. And this has been our position since July. We haven't changed one bit. Democrats chose to not put in the reconciliation package inexplicably. So they're the ones trying to play chicken with this thing when really it doesn't have to be that way. But to the point of the bill that was just passed, I think we all agree, let's fund the government. Let's keep the lights on. Nobody wants a shutdown. But, Joel makes a good point. We tend to govern by crises. And these bubble up usually sometime in July, right before they head to recess, and then again typically in December, which is again the case here before they all break for the holidays. So I anticipate at least one or more deadlines or crises will probably come up again in December, and everybody will be under the gun again before they leave for Christmas.
Government by crises. You're right. That's what it seems to come down to. Joel, lawmakers are battling over key points in President Biden's economic agenda. As you know, the House is planning to vote on the $1 trillion infrastructure plan, but progressive Democrats say they will strike that down if a deal isn't made on the $3.5 trillion social programs package. We heard earlier from Senator Manchin, who says his top line is $1.5 trillion. He's not budging. So what are the sticking points that continue to create roadblocks for these bills? I know what we're talking about are numbers, but what are the specific programs that lawmakers are looking to cut to get to a number they can agree on?
Tanya, I'm glad you framed it that way. It's so easy to get lost in the sauce with the numbers here, but really when you're talking about the difference between $3.5 trillion and $1.5 trillion, for that bill, that Build Back Better bill that Democrats want to pass, you're talking about less money for elder care, less money for folks who depend on the social safety net, less money for those human infrastructure things that Democrats wanted to invest in, less money for climate change provisions that Democrats wanted to address. So, yes, you can still finance and fund that to a certain level, but it's just the scale of the investment that you can make is really what we're talking about. I do think, and Matt and I had this conversation earlier, I do think Democrats still have a lot of cards in their hand here to kind of find a path to victory. And I think even something that's a little bit closer to $2 trillion. is still a monumental, historical, transformative piece of legislation that Democrats can run on for the next 15 months, and that will really, help to, accomplish a lot of the goals that Democrats want to accomplish while they have this unique experience to be in power of the House, the Senate, and the White House. But obviously, they're going to fight to invest more if they can.
Interesting, though, because we did hear Senator Manchin just say, my top line is $1.5 trillion, and that's going up from nothing, which is where I started, where I wasn't sure that I wanted this bill at all. So, Matt, is Senator Manchin actually playing the part of the Republican here? Because we did hear him say, look, I'm not a big social spending guy. I'm not a big fan of these big, high-ticket social programs. But I will agree to one that's $1.5 trillion. Do you think that he's just being practical in terms of this is the only thing that will get through the Senate? Because, as you know, the Senate already passed that infrastructure bill, which is cooked and in the oven and waiting, for Democrats to take it out of the oven. But the social spending package, will it get through the Senate if it's higher than $1.5 trillion?
It'll certainly be tougher. I mean, there's an old slogan or old saying that's a million here, a million there, and pretty soon you start talking about real money. We're talking about $1.5 trillion, and that's table stakes. What Manchin will agree to, that was approximately double what the Obama stimulus was, and that was supposed to be, a huge, huge number, as opposed to 3.5 million, which is obviously even more. So, look, I think the key here is that we're still, no matter what, it seems like going to spend $1.5 trillion on an infrastructure package that both parties have agreed to. That's fine. We've already spent, I believe it was $4 to $5 trillion earlier this year on Democratic Party line COVID stimulus package, plus this 3.5 already that they're talking about the reconciliation. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And I think look, we're all guilty. We're talking abstractions, but trillions of dollars is a heck of a lot of money.
All right, Matt Gorman and Joel Payne, thanks to both of you. We really appreciate it.